The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way the world works, and that includes shopping. Kantar Philippines Managing Director Marie-Anne Lezoraine joins us now in the studio to tell us about the shopping behavior of Filipinos over the past year. Marie-Anne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So what has been the shopping behavior of Filipinos in 2022 compared to the first quarter of 2023?
So in 2022, it's really been a year of contrast, because when you think about it, we started 2022 in what was still somewhat the pandemic, and shoppers were very much focusing on the essentials and the essentials of staying at home. As the year evolved, we moved to a bit of a post-pandemic life. There was
revenge spending,
to some extent, with a shift in lifestyle. So basically, as people, started to be more mobile, to have more social interactions, be it at work, at school, or meeting with families and friends, their needs changed, and with that, their repertoire, their range of categories that they buy into increased, and with that, their spend increased as well for FMCG.
But did we see now a hybrid of Filipino shoppers still buying online and also going to physical shops for their spending?
Yeah, so when we look at FMCG, so fast-moving consumer goods in particular, we find that people still largely shop offline, and sari-sari stores are really the favorite channel of shopping.
The sachet economy.
Still, yes. But still, online has increased during the pandemic. It was very much boosted, but there are still some ways to go to make that a habit for Filipino shoppers.
And the GDP report for the January to March quarter was just released at 6.4%, which is which is lower compared to the previous quarter, because we had 7 quarters of growth of more than 7%. Is this an indication then that revenge spending is over, spending has normalized because of higher prices?
I would say that FMCG is still very resilient, because it's largely made up of very essential products for people. But at the same time, you're right, we're starting to see inflation start to hit people's budget, and with that they have to make certain choices. So I'd say still good growth, but it's starting to be a little bit more difficult for Filipino shoppers indeed. Yeah.
So are Filipino shoppers now budgeting their purchases, or do they still continue to splurge?
I would say that yes, they are budgeting. They have a strong focus on value, so value for money, because on the one hand, coming out of the pandemic, they need to spend more across a number of categories, but on the other hand, they are hit by inflation, so they have to make choices, and with that, they are more budget conscious, and they are really focused on value for money, making sure that the way they spend the money, brings some value, and they can manage their budget accordingly.
But now that we are into the second quarter of 2023, what are the top trends shaping shopping behavior for Filipinos this year?
Yeah, so in terms of how people shop, as I said, I think to the rest of the year, it's still going to be very much about finding the right value in what they buy. But at the same time, we see that some products, which really bring something maybe different, something unique for people, those products are still doing well. So people are still prepared to spend a bit more when there's something a bit unique or really important to them. I think people will continue to spend on what really matters to them, be it their family, or we are even seeing people spending more on their pets, actually.
Pets? Yeah. A lot of Filipinos became pet parents.
That's right.
Over the past 3 years.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
We see so many pets and even pet shops flourishing across the metropolis.
That's right,
They have to take care of their kids, their new kids.
Exactly. And then in terms of where people shop, so as I said, sari-sari stores are still the favorite channel for Filipino shoppers. Online, as you pointed out, is now more embedded into shopping behavior, although it remains relatively small. Generally, we find that convenience is going to be quite important for shoppers.
And so, taking a look at all of these numbers, the trends in 2022 and 2023, how are brands pivoting? How are they adjusting their products and their price points based on Kantar surveys and data?
Yes. So many brands had no choice but to increase their prices. Obviously, that's not something they do lightly because they know that they don't want to make it difficult for shoppers. But unfortunately, because of the rising cost of raw materials, many did not have a choice. So what they are trying to do is to find a way to still bring that value that I was talking about to shoppers and try to manage prices in a way that still helps consumers and shoppers.
It's a very competitive world,
Yes.
especially now that the economy has further opened up. A lot of shops made a lot of money as well using the digital platform, but now they have to be able to balance sales both from the digital online platform and from their brick and mortar shops.
That's right, and it's interesting because what we find is that people become omni-channel shoppers, meaning that they will shop across a number of different channels, online, offline, and they will make the choices depending on what they need, and they will choose the channels accordingly.
Because before the pandemic in March of 2020, when we saw the lockdowns, not a whole lot of people were shopping online. Is the digital online shopping platform here to stay, or will it eventually fade away with the World Health Organization? I mean, basically saying that we don't anymore have this health emergency status.
So I would say that when it comes to fast-moving consumer goods, actually only 14% of Filipino shoppers do their sort of grocery shopping online. So that's still a relatively limited number of people, rather lower actually than in many markets around the world. So in that sense, I think it's here to stay and it will probably continue to grow.
Marianne, thank you so much for sharing with us the insights of Kantar Philippines on Filipino shopping behaviors in 2023. That was Marianne Lezoraine from Kantar Philippines.